Cyclical alignment is hands down the most effective way to increase your productivity. This linear productivity model, this is literally the opposite of how all of nature works. We are not meant to be constantly producing machines. The complexity is in the constant fatigue and the friction of trying to force action and productivity when your energy is low. It's not supposed to be hard. Life isn't meant to be hard. It gets to be easy, and that's okay. Imagine if you could achieve absolutely peak efficiency. Imagine if you could know exactly how to structure your life, work, and business so that you are working with your body, the energies around you, everything around you, rather than trying to push and grind against all odds. Like, how cool would it be to work in a way that honors both your and nature's rhythms? Because that is exactly what we're going to dive into in today's episode, where we're going to unpack the number one thing that is standing between you and absolutely peak productivity. And it is what skyrocketed my own. It is cyclical alignment. And now what baffles me, honestly, it shocks me that not only do people not use this tool in their life, but they don't even know what it is. Like, I cannot believe it. And before you kind of skip on and are like, no, this episode isn't for me because I used the word cyclical and cycle, hear me out for a second. This applies to both females and males. This applies no matter whether you are cycling or not, because you see, the female physiology is just one of so many cycles that are available out there. So stick around, because this applies to everyone, whether you're female, you're male, you don't identify with either of those two genders, whether you are cycling or not, maybe peri or premenopausal, whether you've had a hysterectomy, it all applies. Let's dive in. Welcome to Resonance, the podcast for high performers and entrepreneurs who want to do life, work, and success differently. I am your host, Viktoria Levenberg, and I'm obsessed with efficiency, productivity, and planning in a way that harnesses your energy and your natural rhythms while keeping you in alignment and integrity. Because I have figured out that lasting success is not about the hustle. It is about being in resonance. Let's begin. Welcome, my friends. We are in the energy increase of our cycle at the time of the recording of this episode. So if compared to some of the other episodes, you're like, oh, she sounds like she's got a little bit more pep in her step. That is why. The moon is waxing. I'm in my follicular phase. We are back into it, which is really great. I truly always welcome this change in dynamics, of course, honoring all four rhythms. And if right now everything I'm saying is like going totally above your head, fear not, it's all going to make a lot of sense in just a moment. And before we dive in, I also just wanted to comment on the t-shirt that I'm wearing. So if you're watching this episode on YouTube, or you're like, maybe looking at some of the clips, you'll notice that I've got a t-shirt that I got in Sedona, Arizona, and it's got this little sun and kind of all of the zodiac signs. And it was quite funny because I've been wearing this t-shirt all day, and I normally kind of dress up a little bit for you guys. I might change my outfit here and there. And then I was like, I'm going to keep this shirt on because it literally talks about what we're about to dive into, like cyclical alignment. It couldn't be more potent than that. So I thought it was quite a cool little synchronicity to start us off with. And look, cyclical alignment is hands down the most effective way to increase your productivity. It is the missing ingredient that most productivity courses, books, ebooks, podcasts, whatever, hacks, whatever you want to name it, they're missing. And it is so widely misunderstood. So if you, like me, back in the good old days, are trying to make it through pushing through and expecting constant results and like wondering why you're just feeling so tired and so freaking worn out all the time, then this episode is for you. Because by the end of this episode together, you will know exactly how to harness your cyclical energy, both your bodies and nature's and the world around you, so that you can get more done in less time. Let's dive in. So here's the thing. one of my big qualms with the traditional linear productivity model is that unfortunately most schools, workplaces, and businesses run in that linear fashion. New day, new beginning. And you see, that is very much kind of following the daily 24-hour cycle of our sun, which is like sunrise, sunset, yay, a constant results every single day. And while that seems to work for some males sometimes, right? Like there's a reason why it's so widely adopted, and we do live in a male-dominated productivity system. I do also want to talk to the fact that it doesn't work for all males necessarily, and it definitely ignores at least half of the population, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So today we'll explore the polarities of linear and cyclical productivity and identify exactly how you can weave cyclical alignment into your work, life, and business. So let's get into kind of the nitty-gritty, right? First things first, the linear productivity model, as I mentioned, it expects these constant peak results, 24/7, maximum efficiency, top line, best performance ever in the history of the world, 365 days of the year, clock in, clock out, in and out, input, output, input, output. Should be like a song. You know what's that song? It's like work it harder, make it. Oh my gosh, do not sing on the podcast. This is not what we're doing. But team, this linear productivity model, this is literally the opposite of how all of nature works. Think about it. We have 4 seasons, right? Winter, spring, summer, autumn. We have 4 lunar phases. We've got the new moon, waxing, full, and the waning moon. We've got 4-day phases. Even in this 24-hour cycle, we've got nighttime, morning, midday, and afternoon. And especially for our cycling females as well, you've got another caveat here that's influencing you, which is your cycle, your menstrual, follicular, ovulation, and luteal phase. Why am I speaking to this? Because we are not meant to be constantly producing machines. We aren't like a robot that you just turn on and it is constantly, like your chat GPT producing results in like the click of a button. That is not how humans are wired, because you see, we are animals at the very core primal level. We are also as great as and elevated as we think we are. We're also primal beings. And everything in nature honors this cycle. Like think about bears. Bears honor the hibernation phase. Little squirrels in autumn are gathering all the little nuts and seeds and stocking up for the cold winter months. Like even birds migrate throughout the seasons depending on what's going on. Everything in nature. The leaves fall and turn yellow and red before things sprout up again in spring, right? Like everywhere you look, it's all around you. And yet we have built a world society and work structure and school structure and businesses that completely ignore one of the major forces governing our life, the universe, and our planet. It truly does baffle me. It infuriates me. And that is why I genuinely believe that I have been guided in this direction, is to start to help bring this out into the world, because I see a possible future where this wisdom, this knowledge is integrated back into society as a whole. Because imagine how much more productive, how much more effective we would be if we were finally operating at our peak productivity while feeling great about it and honoring each other's rhythms and knowing how to best work together. Because the thing is, yes, like say it's cycling females, we'll obviously all have our different stages of our cycle. Then there are things that we share in commonality in the planet. And then there are kind of some more advanced cycles that are beyond the scope of today's episode that also both govern us as a collective species and us individually. And if we finally learned, it's like a code. Like if we finally learn how to crack this code, and use it to work smarter, then my goodness, like the world is our oyster. And that is really my intention here. And, to bring it kind of back to the practical, the tangible, you might be thinking like, okay, Vic, I get it. Cool. Kumbaya. But how do I apply this to my day-to-day life? You see, these 4 cycles are also applied in projects and in your work, life, and business. And this particular part that I'm about to share with you, I learned from my financial coach and mentor, Kate Northrup. She actually has an incredible course on this as well. It's called Heal the Way You Work. And basically, the names that she gives these 4 cycles in your projects is, again, mirroring the cyclical nature of everything in the universe, right? So first, we've got this fertile void. And this fertile void is like this equivalent of like the winter energy, the new moon, the the nighttime, the menstrual phase of the female cycle, where the idea is there, it's kind of brewing up, but you're not acting on it yet. You're just kind of letting yourself sit on it. It's almost like as if you imagined you're like a little chicken that's like sitting on the egg, and you're just kind of sitting on that egg until it starts to be like, oh, I think I'm ready to hatch. And so you're just sitting on it. And like a really great first-hand kind of real life example for me in my life right now, I've got many projects, and I actually in my planning rituals track where they all are on their cycles. Anyway, this is a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be teaching inside Efficiency Made Easy. But basically, one of my projects that's in its fertile void right now is writing my book. So I have, to be honest, not just one book. I've got many books in me that I know are going to come out in this lifetime. And there's a idea of like roughly what they're going to look like, what they're going to be about, how that's going to tie into my greater kind of purpose and legacy, etc. And yet, I'm not necessarily acting on them yet. So the knowledge is there and the intention is there that I will know at the right time when to begin to weave that into some of my more concrete planning. But for now, they're just in the fertile void, and that is okay. Like, rather than trying to force things into just becoming because we're like, must produce, do everything yesterday. Like, I'm just letting that one sit until it's ready to hatch. And believe it or not, and I kind of taught this in my beta, like my program with my current students at the moment, we were talking about the mind and our unconscious mind. And, only 10% of our thoughts are conscious. So we think that like we're so smart and everything we think is all that reality is, but that's quite far from the truth, because actually 90% of your reality and your mind is in the unconscious and the subconscious mind. And so even though on the surface, right, in this 10% tip of the iceberg conscious awareness, it might not seem like I'm doing anything, because I am not doing anything with the book, but in my unconscious and the depths of my unconscious, deep, deep down in the deep waters of that iceberg, things are already starting to come together. And it is the exact same thing like in the depths of winter. Even though on the surface of Mother Earth, all you can see is just layers and layers of snow, very far deep underneath in the ground, there's already little mycelial networks that are beginning to form, the fungi communicating to one another, the roots connecting and starting to sprout those little movements of energy and whatever else is going to come up and out so that it is ready and fertile for the next season, which is emergence. And emergence, according to Kate Northrup's theory, is related to the spring, the follicular, the waxing moon, and your morning energy. And so again, like in your work life and business, what that might look like is when you're beginning to work on something, but it's in its emergence, right? So it's just like little popcorn things are starting to pop, little seeds are starting to sprout. You're just seeing the very first tiny little green shoot pop out of the earth. And so it might look like brainstorming, ideating, planning. For me right now at the time of this recording, what's in my emergence phase is Efficiency Made Easy. So I know that by the time this episode comes out, I'll already be teaching my incredible founding members, who I am so incredibly grateful for and so lucky to have in this container. And yet right now, in the present moment of me recording this episode, I am ideating. I am, the idea is there. I'm making momentum. I've got people on the priority wait list. I am drafting out the frameworks and the outline and kind of brainstorming what's the smartest way to deliver this that makes sense to different personality types, all those things, right? So it's very much in its emergence phase. So that's a really great example of that. And then after emergence comes visibility. So the visibility stage of a project is effectively your summer, your full moon, your ovulation, your midday energy. It is when things are at their most visible, at the highest. It is sort of like go mode. It is when, those kind of sayings where people say it's like a year happened in a week. That's sort of the vibe I'm talking about when it's specifically pertaining, say, to that project or work stream. So, what that might look like in practical terms is like you're in full swing. You are seeing things really come together and make sense. You're delivering the thing, you're doing the thing. So for example, at the time of the publishing of this episode, Efficiency Made Easy will already be in visibility because I will be doing the thing. I will be delivering the program. I'll be adapting and talking to my people and all those sort of things. At the current time of recording of this episode, what's in my visibility stage is promoting the priority waitlist for Efficiency Made Easy. So that's a really great example of kind of what visibility looks like. It's basically the thing that occupies also the most of your time and energy, I would always say. And this is where a lot of people trip up when it comes to their productivity and efficiency, because they're trying to do too much all at the same time. And so if you've got like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects running alongside one another and they're all in visibility at the same time, you're basically inevitably setting yourself up for failure because none of them are going to deliver on their potential and it's going to burn you out. So let's not do that, shall we? Now, the last stage in terms of your kind of cyclical project management side of things is culmination. And so that is the equivalent of, say, like your autumn energy, your luteal phase if you're a cycling female, the waning moon in the afternoon kind of coming into the evening part of the day. And so think of that in terms of projects like you're wrapping things up, you're tidying them into a bow, you're doing the debriefs, you're closing things off, checking the details, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, all those little details. It's like, again, I love this little metaphor of like the little squirrel that's just like going and collecting all the nuts and putting them in her little nook to make sure that everything's nice and tidy and ready for the new phase to begin, which obviously is a fertile void. And so what is in the culmination phase for me right now at the time of the recording of this episode is the stress reset, which is, if you've been kind of part of my community for a while, you will know that was originally the offer that I was pitching to my community to begin with. And then through that work, I realized that it was kind of doing the right thing, but at the wrong angle. So I'm pivoting away from that and putting all of my focus, time, and energy into Efficiency Made Easy, right? But I had made a commitment and I had incredible students inside the Stress Reset, which that program, was to see through to its completion. So even though there was already a new parallel project coming on board into its emergence phase, I knew that I had to also make sure I was honoring the culmination and the wind down of the Stress Reset. And so when you apply this thinking into your project management and your scheduling and your workload, it really helps you balance the scales. It makes it so much easier, and it helps you understand where your time, resources, and energy are going. And it also helps ensure that you build enough spaciousness for you to achieve peak productivity, but not at the cost of your health and well-being, definitely not at the cost of your results or your performance. So those are those 4 stages when it comes to your projects: fertile void, emergence, visibility, and culmination. Now, you see, the problem with the linear productivity model and unfortunately society at large, let's be honest here, is that we glorify those peak energy phases of the cycle, right? So think spring and summer, think visibility and emergence. Like everyone's always like, yes, amazing, achieve, do more, peak, energy, right? I was tempted to sing this song like passion, energy. And I don't know why I'm singing on the podcast again, Viktoria. Anyway, this is what's coming through. So maybe it resonates, maybe it doesn't. Anyways, what society and the linear productivity model do is they glorify and solely focus on those peak energy phases, summer and spring. And they completely ignore and even vilify, look down on, put down the lower energy phases, which is autumn and winter, which are just as important to the whole process, and they serve their purpose. Because like, how many people do you know who are always starting something, but then they never wrap it up and they never see it through to completion, or they never do their debriefs, they never look back at what happened to reflect on the learnings and things they could have done differently and better, etc. So they just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Like, I've seen this firsthand in corporate as well. It's ridiculous. Like, you would just be doing more and more and creating new things, and you would never look back at what you did and actually evaluate, like, is what we're doing, is that making sense or not? And this is the exact same concept applied in real life. You know, you might be thinking like, oh, Vic's in a bit of woo land again, but no, like these concepts apply to everything. And the same thing goes for the fertile void, because if something's not ready to emerge yet, you can push and force and try as hard as you want, but you're basically, it's like pushing, you know, BS uphill. It's going to be really, really hard. It's like this big rock that you're just trying to push uphill. Why force it? Let it come at the right time. Reevaluate. If it's not working, there's probably a reason behind it. And sure, you can push through and make it happen, and you'll realize it didn't work and you'll be back at square one, or just not waste your time and honor the fact that every project has a fertile void where it also just needs to honor the spaciousness and its non-existence. Because even though on the conscious level, it might appear like it doesn't exist, it is still being wired in the unconscious. And you see, when we just focus on this linear push, go, summer, spring only, must achieve, must do mentality, that unfortunately inevitably leads to burnout, exhaustion, hustle culture, right? Again, like, which by the way, disgusts me how glorified it is. That's enough. I'm not going to go on a side tangent rant there, but I think you get the gist. It leads to unrealistic expectations and this constant feeling of thinking like you're behind. Oh my God, I'm so behind. I'm not doing enough. I'm not da 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 da. And it's so funny because like even at the time of recording of this episode, I literally had this exact feeling come up in my life, right? Like, just because I'm teaching these things and because I'm more experienced and you know, have a lot of tools and things up my sleeve doesn't mean that I don't go through the same pain points that you are going through as well. So like literally just 3 days ago, I vividly remember after having done a full big days of work, feeling really anxious, really overwhelmed, feeling like I'm behind, feeling like I didn't do enough. And it's just sort of like, oh my God. Just like really, and this is a big week for me. Like there's a lot of demands. And the difference is that rather than trying to push and do more and force myself to hustle through so that I don't feel behind anymore, instead I leant back and looked from a cyclical perspective, from an energy management perspective, and using my high performance tools and systems at what I can do differently to change the situation in real time. And so there were a couple really easy solutions. I mean, first things first, I did my planning ritual, which I always do anyway. I pushed out some timelines. I've shuffled things around, because what is overwhelm if not simply the fact that you are trying to cram too many demands in too small of a time container? So the solution to overwhelm, of course, is to either expand the time container or reduce the demands. And so I did a little bit of both in a way that still didn't compromise my results, by the way, because someone might not be ready to hear this, but deadlines are made up. It's all arbitrary. Like, there's no deadline god being like, you must do this right now. You'd be surprised. Try it out next time. Can you be like, hey, I'm under the pump. Would it be okay if I deliver this X? Or learning to set some boundaries and be like, well, if you want me to do this, then I've got to let go of that. And this is where we're coming into a whole like time and energy management and boundaries piece. Again, I don't want to side tangent and sidetrack too much, but I'm just trying to give you like a real-time, real life example of where we live in a culture that expects these constant demands of us. And so it's totally normal if you are feeling behind. It is totally normal if you are feeling overwhelmed. And just see this as your beacon of hope that there is another way. And there are so many tools and things that I'm just so excited to share with the incredible people who decide to join my beta, and who also decide to join Efficiency Made Easy in the future, right? Because like right now, in this founding members launch, we're just fleshing these things out. I'll be teaching it for the first time. So it's going to be a really big learning curve for me. I'm going to really get the opportunity to see like, what are some of these things that kind of make sense in Vic reality? How does that translate to other people? And I've got like a lot of different personality types in there as well, with like different struggles. So it's going to be really cool to see kind of what's more relevant for some versus others. So anyways, all that to say is that there is a solution. And so if you right now, like I was just a few days ago, are feeling behind or feeling like you're falling victim to this hustle culture mentality where you're just expected to constantly perform, be on go, go, go mode and do and achieve and strive, and you don't see a way out, knowing and understanding that there is another way is step one. So just simply by showing up here today, simply by listening to this video or watching it, listening to this podcast or watching this video, welcome. You have completed step one. You are here. Step two is then applying this knowledge and wisdom that I've just shared with you into your own planning and structures. So like, as I have already spoken about quite extensively, this is exactly what I teach inside Efficiency Made Easy. But like some examples of that would be, rather than trying to do everything and then some in like your lowest energy weeks, how about trying to adjust your calendar and schedule so that you work with your energy when it's at its peak, and have your important meetings, have your important calls, have them there. Maybe in the luteal phase, when you're like a little bit more detail oriented, you structure more of your admin. Like I always do my expenses in my luteal phase. I don't know what it is. I can just shut my office door, pop my music on, and I'm just like, boom, boom, boom. I smash it out. All the other phases, it's like, oh God, don't even try and touch it. So, that's just like a really nice example of how you can weave it in. And this isn't about perfection. Like this isn't about trying to tick all the boxes and doing it all right again. Like just notice if that inner perfectionist is coming through, right? Like this is just using these concepts and theories to make your life easier. And that was what brings me to step 3. Using it to inform your decisions, because like we can plan and set things up in advance as much as we can, but the reality is like we don't know what might happen in the next second, let alone in the next hour, let alone tomorrow or a year from now, right? And that is sometimes something that holds a lot of people back from planning. And I've spoken to many people about this already. It's just like this sort of reluctance to feel like you're locked in or like you're committing to something, but something even better might come your way, or you don't even know where you'll be. Like we could go off on a lot of different side tangents here, but I'm a firm believer in the need for healthy masculine structure for a plan, and also healthy feminine flow, the ability to respond in real time and adjust. And so some of those ad hoc adjustments might look like, for me recently, my cycle has been really off. That is because of like some really big stressors that I have been dealt in Q4 of last year. And that's just what happens. Your body reacts to that stress and gets a bit discombobulated. Here we go, physiological proof in real time, right? And so my cycle came at a time where I didn't expect it because I didn't know when to expect it. It was a bit of an unpredictable. And that combined with the fact that my cycle's been a bit off, like when it did come, it really took an energetic toll. Like it was just like, boom. Again, I was hit by a car. I had like zero capacity for anything. And so knowing how to use and apply cyclical alignment in my work life and business, I knew that right now in that moment, the best use of my time and energy was to take that day off. Because there was no point in trying to push through fatigue and exhaustion. And I'd just be staring at that computer screen, wasting my time and energy and everyone else's, to be honest, because I would just be getting nowhere. And instead, giving my body and mind what I needed in the moment so that then later on I could perform better. Because the problem with the linear productivity model and ignoring our cyclical nature as well is that if you don't give yourself what you need in one stage of the cycle, but particularly those slower energy cycles, you then don't get to maximize the energy boost that comes with the higher energy cycles. It doesn't, like, you can't just, what do people say? Like, you can't just bake your cake and eat it too. Like, you've got to honor the whole cycle for the cyclical nature of it to apply in real life. And so, the problem is just that when we just constantly try and push through, we actually end up deteriorating our productivity across all 4 stages. So then if you stay in that linear productivity model, you stay in that flat line, you never achieve that peak that is available there for you, where then collectively combined, you're actually 10 times more productive, even though you're doing less and working less. It's just, I know it might be blowing your mind right now, but I'm telling you, this is real. Like, I have not just lived and witnessed this in my life. I've seen this for so many people, and this is how nature works as well. And so if it is good for Mother Earth, surely it is good for you. And now you might be thinking, Vic, this all sounds a little bit too abstract, too complicated, and like a whole lot of work. I cannot overhaul my entire life just because you say that cyclical alignment is important. And that's fine. Like, I totally get it, right? Like, that is okay. You're probably feeling overwhelmed right now because your current system, or lack thereof, may I say, is already too much work. You've already got too much on your plate because you've been conditioned to believe that a better system means a more complicated system, right? Because you've been conditioned to believe that input equals output. The more I get, the more I get. The more I do, the more I get. But that is wrong. And that is that crucial shift that we're beginning to make here. The complexity isn't about the alignment. The complexity is in the constant fatigue and the friction of trying to force action and productivity when your energy is low. When everything around you is saying stop, and you're trying to push full throttle. This system that I work, live by, swear by, and now teach is designed to be the anti-complexity tool because it eliminates at least 80% of your wasted effort. It's easy. This is why I called my program Efficiency Made Easy. It's not supposed to be hard. Life isn't meant to be hard. It gets to be easy, and that's okay. It's okay for it to be easy. I know it might feel a little bit unfamiliar, a little bit taboo, a little bit naughty, but it is a possibility. And so I would just encourage you as you look ahead into the next week, this next season of your life, to just start with the path of least resistance and maximum results. The smallest single possible action step that I would invite you to take right now is to identify where in your energy you are right now. And I know this might all seem pretty complex, but I'm pretty sure that most of you will have a bit of a hunch. Like, am I in the complete, new moon, fertile void winter? Am I kind of in the spring? Am I in the summer? Like, woo, let's go. Or am I winding down in the autumn, the luteal? Like, just have a think. It doesn't have to be perfect. You will intuitively know where you're at. And from that, see if you can choose one high leverage task that actually matches that energy and give it a try. Just see how that works. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to, nerd out with me in the complicated charts, even though I do and I can teach it to you. But, just meet yourself where you are. Just one. Simple, grounded, aligned action that instantly feels easier and natural, rather than trying to force something that's not meant for this moment in time. And if you're wondering, oh gosh, Vic, how do I do that? I've got an episode on this exact topic, episode 19 of Resonance. I'll link it up in the show notes below. That will really help you with this, and it'll get a little bit more concrete in the detail if today's episode wasn't quite concrete for my people who love a lot of examples and a lot of detail. So I'll make sure to listen. I'll make sure to listen. I don't need to listen to it. I know it. I'll make sure to link it up for you below, because it really comes down to this choice. You've got a choice here. Are you going to let fear of a perceived complexity with setting new things up keep you trapped in a system that you know isn't working for you and is making your daily work freaking exhausting and complicated? Or are you ready to embrace the strategic simplification that will come with embracing cyclical alignment into your work life and business? That will allow you to achieve your maximum results, peak efficiency, peak productivity, without sacrificing your energy, with the least resistance, and actually with not quite as much change as you think. That is what's available to you on the other side. So here you have it, my friends. The secret to peak efficiency and productivity, cyclical alignment. I could talk about this for days. As you can see, I am incredibly passionate about the topic. I'm building a whole program and a whole dynasty around it, because if it's good for Mother Earth, it is good enough for you too. Thank you so much for listening. I am incredibly grateful for you. I hope you have a fabulous week ahead, and I look forward to touching base with you, whether it's on the socials, in the emails, or maybe just accompanying you on your next walk, run, drive, cleaning the house, wherever and however you listen to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. How valuable would it be for you to get more done in less time while having more energy? Imagine the things that you could achieve if you finally stopped running on empty and instead learned to cultivate peak performance in your work, life, and business. We did just close enrollment for my very first round of Efficiency Made Easy, but I've got you. If you do also want to join this incredible group coaching program where I am going to be teaching the exact systems, tools, and processes I use to run my life, make sure you get yourself on the priority waitlist for when we open doors again, which is just a few short months away. In case you're wondering if this is for you, well, look, does any of this apply? You might have big goals and a full schedule, but you're trying to achieve them through forced productivity. Or you're physically exhausted, but your mind just won't stop. Perhaps you feel a low grade of anxiety throughout your day, like even when you're trying to rest. And maybe you spend your day reacting to pings, emails, firefighting all the demands. And then by the time you get to the end of the week, you just move the same to-do list items all the way back over to Monday. If any of this applies to you and you would like to join this special program, make sure that you join the priority waitlist today. The link is in the show notes below and at viktorialevenberg.com/success. Can't wait to see you there. The views and opinions expressed by guests on Resonance are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of me, Viktoria Levenberg, Live in Health, or anyone working within the Live in Health brand. This space welcomes a diversity of ideas, experiences, and stories, and part of Resonance is learning to take what aligns and gently leaving the rest. Also, while I am a national board certified health and wellness coach and deeply passionate about well-being, this podcast is intended for educational and inspirational purposes only. Resonance does not substitute personalized medical, psychological, or therapeutic scientific advice. Always seek guidance from qualified professionals for any physical, emotional, or mental health concerns.